All right, what's up, guys? Welcome, everyone. Welcome to today's live stream. It's going to be a good one. We have the battle of the worlds going on CT right now on crypto Twitter with Binance and FTX fighting. We have Bitcoin dumping, and we have anal dust trending on Twitter. So yeah, I mean, life is pretty good. We got a lot to talk about. So let's jump straight into the shots. And by the way, guys, as you can see right up here, the RLZ Trading Room is live. And as you can read here, it kind of goes away from me. You can get access if you use the link in the description to this video. You will have press that link, read the information, and you'll get to know how to join the RLZ Trading Room now that it's live. We're starting to slowly but surely inviting people into the Discord, so we're seeing more people pop in there. All right, so let's look at the Bitcoin chart, because something's happening, and it's not perfect, right? So we have obviously some dumpy dump action going on right here. So let's see what we have today. So this is actually the first time looking at the charts. Of course I woke up and the first thing I did was pick up my phone, check TradingView. It's a bad idea. Honestly, I think that's like a life hack, to not check your phone the first thing in the morning. When I do that, my whole day is just so much better. If the first thing I do, pick up the phone, it's not a good idea. So this was an idea, and I think this is very, very interesting, guys. I think this is super, super interesting. What's up, Bart Fomoshi? Right. So I think this is very interesting. Now, the idea here on Bitcoin, so yesterday we looked at, I had an idea of basically seeing Bitcoin bouncing at this support right here. And I think this is just the perfect example of why you want to wait for confirmation before entering a trade. I mean, you can't just, Of course, you can do whatever you want in trading, and that's the beauty and also the danger of it. You can do whatever you want with your type of trading and trading style. But what I like to do is I like to wait for confirmation. I think waiting for confirmation is actually super important, right? And by waiting for confirmation, you get to miss out on a lot of trades a lot of times, but you also have the opportunity to seeing this, right? So yesterday we wanted to see a bounce inside this support zone right here, which was obviously confluent with the you have the bounce right here on the 0.618, and so you had a bounce on the 0.618, and if we remove this indicator right here, and we can remove the weekly and monthly open, and you see that, you know what, it kind of makes sense, right? It kind of makes sense. And then you see the blue dotted lines, that's a low time frame range, and basically I'm just watching this type of price action right here. It's a low time frame range. The white dotted lines, that's the high time frame range. You can see that being where is it here, right? So high range EQ and range low, and you also see the price came down and they hit the range high area of the low time frame range, and also the breakout area of this most local move, and everything looks great, right? It looks pretty good on this perspective. And then when you add the indicator, and basically what I mean with the indicator right here is basically the 4 hour 20 and 50 and the daily 20 and 50. So I add that to the chart, and then you add the weekly and monthly open, and what you see here is you go back to use the replay function, and we kind of go through this idea here. I mean, this was covered in the market update channel. You can see right here. So the stream I'm doing right now is a community live stream for the RLZ Trading Room. It's not all of these are going to be public on YouTube, but the ones that are public on YouTube, like this one right here, it's always going to be focused on the community. So I'll always have priority to community members and short requests and that kind of stuff. But we looked at I had a couple of ideas yesterday, and I wrote here that we are well, first of all, I remember writing here, I believe that Bitcoin is still in the same area, and this was about this time. And I said also, but this is exactly the type of slow-moving price action we want to see for there to be a bottom formation. And what I mean by that is, when you have a bottom formation that's rounded with multiple candles, it's usually a much better indication than that having that immediate reaction, right? I want price to kind of take its time to form a bottom, right? And the whole idea was basically based on this, right, where you wanted to have a break and retest of the weekly open area confluent with the 4 hour 20 EMA right there. And why I choose to trade that way is because, first of all, it's a much less stressful way of trading, because you can just wait and wait and wait, and if you're patient enough, you're going to get rewarded once the setup gets activated and plays out. Now, with this type of approach, you're not going to have a bunch of setups, right? You're not going to have a lot of setups, right? But the ones you do take is fairly good, right? And why I do wait for this, it's quite obvious, because look at what price did on the next candle. The area where we wanted this to enter at confirmation was also the area the price used as resistance, and that's why we wait for that area to get reclaimed. Because if it gets reclaimed, the chances of moving higher is much higher. But unless it gets reclaimed, this is strong resistance. You can also look at the like you can add a low time frame level right here. You'll see that it kind of goes, and you can incorporate the wicks, the high of that swing high, the wicks here, the wicks here, the wicks here, and like this type of price action here, and then you have that rejection right there. So it kind of looks like a possible breakdown, right? A break and retest, a bearish break and retest. And where we're trading right now, we're trading much lower. So for anyone that bought this bounce, which is not really a bounce, it's no confirmation at all, you would be stopped out. You're losing money on buying that bounce, right? So that's why we always wait for confirmation. We wait for, so the people that do enter prematurely and early, we enter when either they take profit and move stops to entry, or we wait for them to get stopped out, right? There's going to be a lot of people buying Bitcoin right here on this support and so-called bounce, getting stopped out. And most likely the people that bought this bounce is the professional traders that did it, do so with low risk, and they manage risk accordingly, right? Now, most of the new traders, the real retail traders, they buy this because they're not patient. They're not patient, and they're probably feeling FOMO, right? And they're getting in because they missed out on this move. They're like, Bitcoin is trading up here, and like, oh, god damn it, I should have bought this one right now. And then it's down here, and they're like, now I have my opportunity to buy. So they're buying this type of price action based on this move, which based on the feelings that they had during this move, which makes no sense, because this is one trade and that trade is gone. That trade is gone. This price action right here, that's a new trade, right? And when you have a new trade, it is completely irrelevant what happened prior, right? The only time that prior price action is relevant to anything is when you're back testing and testing the system. When you're taking a new trade, you have to remember that every new trade is has a completely random outcome and has nothing to do with the trade before it. Because if you're taking one trade based on the previous trade, you're basing your trade on a set of data of exactly 2. So think about that for a minute. When you're backtesting a system, you want to have at least 20 trades, 50, maybe 100 trades. I mean, when I'm backtesting hundreds of trades when I'm testing new systems and setups. And you're going to be basing the next trade on 2 sets of data. Makes no sense. You're basing that next trade on your emotional imbalance. So Bitcoin right now, I would just think that Bitcoin is not of interest. It's just not of interest right now. Why? Well, because this is not the type of price action that I want to be trading, because we don't know where this move is going. We don't know if it's going to continue lower, even if it goes lower straight in a straight line down. I'm a American retest trader, so I can't be trading that. So for now, what I'm thinking this morning is I'm not very interested in what Bitcoin is doing, right? And we're going to be looking at some altcoins as well, to see if there's any trade. One of the trades we looked at to perhaps enter if this idea would confirm on Bitcoin. Now, one actually started moving according to our idea, but the idea with going long on one here was also to not enter one until Bitcoin tells us that it's safe to do so. So we can check the 1 hour, and we can go back to Bitcoin, and the move lower on Bitcoin happened around 2100. So we're going to 1. The move on Bitcoin happened around 2100, which was right here. Right? So that's the top of this move. Now the idea with 1 was you wanted to buy the break and retest of the 50% right here, right? So the idea was already confirmed. The idea kind of confirmed itself when you had this shot right here. This looks almost exactly like what Bitcoin looked like when we were interested in that setup. So check this out. Hits the 0.618, and the problem with this one is the fact that the 4-hour 20 EMA is above price. We want that to be below price when going long. So you can go back to Bitcoin, and you'll see that exactly the same thing happened here. You came down, you hit that support right here, 20 EMA, too high. And of course, the weekly open here adds a lot of confidence to that idea as well. So 1 started confirming, and kind of confirmed here, right? And if this would have been a Forex pair, like completely isolated Forex pair, no news events going on, no macroeconomics affecting that pair, I would take this trade. I would absolutely enter orders for this trade. But when you're trading crypto, you have to remember that altcoins is a slave to whatever Bitcoin's doing. Altcoin is like an extension of Bitcoin. So you're always watching Bitcoin, and you always have to trade altcoins based on what Bitcoin is doing. If there's no good setup on Bitcoin, there might be a good setup on an altcoin that follows the same idea that you think you might want to trade on Bitcoin. So one was a very good idea, and the reason we did not enter in the longs here was because Bitcoin had not confirmed. Now, imagine if Bitcoin closed a 4-hour candle. Imagine if Bitcoin closed, opened and closed a 4-hour candle here, while one was still trading up here. That's the scenario where we want to enter orders on one and perhaps Bitcoin as well. And then, of course, if you enter orders on Bitcoin and an altcoin at the same time, you're basically trading the same setups. So you're doubling your risk, right? You're taking two positions on the same setup. So what you have to do is you have to divide risk between those two positions. But it's fairly obvious what's happening right here. And I don't think this is an isolated event. I mean, I'm looking on Twitter, and there's a lot of people saying like, "Oh, Sam and CC is just crashing the market." I haven't watched the S&P 500, but I'm pretty certain that if we go over and look at the S&P 500, we're not going to see a rocket ship to the moon. So let's see. We probably remember yesterday. I'm gonna look like an ass if this doesn't work out. But you remember yesterday we had a live stream, and I said, look at the S&P 500. It's at resistance. It's at resistance. If the dollar currency index bounces, well, it's kind of bouncing, and the S&P 500 probably gets reacted at that resistance. So let's see. Did that happen? Well, not really. All right, not really. So I'm looking like an idiot. So we never had a rejection at that resistance, but we're getting some sort of rejection. We're getting a rejection at the daily 50. But I don't know, man. Like the move on Bitcoin is way bigger. I think it's weird that the move lower on Bitcoin is as big as this one, because we're not seeing much in terms of other markets. So we're looking at the US 30, still looking pretty strong, possible double top here. But like I'm looking at this, I'm thinking maybe we can long this. Look at the US 100, the Nasdaq, and the Nasdaq obviously. Okay, this is interesting though, because the Nasdaq is really showing us a possible short setup coming up. So maybe, right? So this is interesting, right? Because we have. Right, so we had the US 100, which is the Nasdaq index, and we're potentially getting a short setup right here on the rejection of that level. Probably not going to be a trade based on my system because it's probably not hitting the right fibs. It is actually hitting the 50. So we might actually have a trade here on Nasdaq. So we're going to be keeping our eyes on that one. I'm adding that to the orange list. By the way, the orange list and the green list is available to all the newsletter subscribers. I'm also going to be posting links in the community after the live stream. But yeah, this is US 100 is definitely looking interesting. We have a clear level right here. The overall trend is very bearish. Now the S&P 500 is giving us a rejection right here, probably on the 50 of this move as well. Actually, it came up and hit the short RLZ here even. So if we're going to short S&P 500, what I'm thinking is it kind of looks like on the S&P 500, kind of looks like we had an uptrend here, and we're now kind of breaking that uptrend and we're probably going to see something like this, right? Man, I am drawing like a 5-year-old. Actually, my 5-year-old is actually drawing better than me. He drew a total yesterday, real beautiful, and he said like, can you draw a total? I'm like, of course I can draw a total. It's just a circle. It's a circle with dots. I'm really bad at that. So yeah, we definitely going to be watching the S&P 500, but there's not going to be a trade. Like the trade on the S&P 500 is probably going to be this, right? breaking a bearish retest of the weekly open. That might be a good trade on the S&P 500. Right, we got some question here. All right, so let's look at this. You would probably buy Ethereum at 1,080. It depends. I mean, if you're looking at it from a a bigger scale, like a long-term perspective, I mean, I don't think it's a terrible idea to continue accumulating Ethereum at these prices. I mean, I'm not saying you should open up big positions, but definitely some long-term dollar cost average thing might not be a terrible idea. But for a trade, 1,280. Sure, that's like the lows. I don't know, man. Maybe, but it's like, for me, it's no trade for me when it comes to this level. Yeah, so let's look at the dollar currency index, because this is an important question. So this kind of an important thing to note here is, so we're looking at this trend right here, and we can look at the behavior of this trend. So looking at the dollar currency index right here, the DXY or the Dixie, you have higher highs and higher lows. This uptrend right here is very clear, right? You can see that it's quite clear, right? But what you're getting here is you're having a higher high, then you get a low, higher low, higher low, and that's a lower high. And then you have a low time frame lower high here as well, and another lower high, and then you have lower lows. So it does actually look like there is a obvious change in behavior here, right? So there's a very obvious change in behavior, and it also looks like it might be a break in market structure. The break in market structure is not really confirmed yet, I believe. Maybe it is, but why I'm saying that is because you could argue that this wick right here. All right, so what I'm going to do is, because I do understand that this is a problem. So what I'm going to do is I have to so basically what I have to do is I'm using StreamYard, right? And they have different tiers of subscription. I'm currently on the lowest tier. They have 2 tiers, and what I can do is I can upgrade to the next tier, which would give me 1080p, and I can also add a second camera and do that. So I'll do that. I'll make sure to upgrade that because you're asking for it, and I definitely agree. I'm kind of putting everything on putting the screen on full screen here, and the resolution is just shitty. I can't believe they even, like, why do they even have 720p as an option today? Like, why can't they just go straight to 1080p? I don't get it. Anyway, so with the dollar currency index right here, you can argue that this is a support level, right? So you could argue that this is a support level, and it's not until this whole trend line area is broken, but you can clearly see that there's a clear change in behavior. And yeah, so what I'm going to do here, I'm going to add an alert, and I'm going to say on that alert, I'm going to say breaking down. And that's when I think maybe we have a breaking market structure. So for now, it's a possible range, right? And there's a lot of uncertainties in the markets right now. I say that all the time, but really, there's a lot of uncertainty in the markets right now. This kind of looks like a range for the dollar currency index as well. There's a lot going on in the world, and politics and geopolitics, and the inflation story. It's crazy, all the things that it's affecting the markets right now. So I think the dollar currency index is also reflective of that. And what I mean by being reflective of that is, it's this when you had this trend on the dollar currency index, the everything was quite clear. Like the economy, it was quite clear that the economy was just fucked, and inflation was just skyrocketing. And now people are thinking, you know, is it time for the U.S. economy to get a little bit weaker? Maybe the Fed is actually going to take it easy with the quantitative tightening. There's actually signs of that weren't there before, but I still think we're going to see the dollar currency index move higher. I don't think there's a. I remember saying this on Friday. I don't see a big reason for the current moves, the current risk-on moves. On Bitcoin here, for example, I didn't really see a proper reason for this because of the NFP event and the unemployment stuff. I think the unemployment numbers. I think the market overreacted to the unemployment numbers. The real figure was the NFP, and the NFP event, non-farm payroll, did not show a lot of signs of the economy weakening, and I think that was the important thing. And now the market is kind of realizing that we had an overreaction, is what I'm thinking. So yeah, in terms of crypto, this is a time when we have to be patient. We have to be patient, not patience. We have to be patient, and we need to really, take a little bit easy with just buying everything, because it's when something is dumping, you don't buy it, right? You don't buy something that goes down. You want to be looking for shorts. You want a short weakness. You want to buy strength. Now, most people, they see a market just dumping and they're like, I want to buy this, I want to buy this, I want to buy this because it's cheap. There's no such thing as cheap and expensive. You got to get that out of your head. It's all about trends. It's all about trends. Nothing is cheap, nothing is expensive. It's all about trends. Of course, something can be cheap and expensive, but I think it's much easier to think in terms of trends and price action when you're trading. So if you think the DXY will go down, that would be bullish for crypto, I guess. Yeah, but I don't think anything. Like, I don't think the dollar currency index will go down. I actually think there's a. So what I'm like, what you have to understand is when I say something, like I try to, as much as possible, to function from a probabilistic mindset. So when I say it's probably going to go up, I don't mean that I think it's just going to go up. It just seems slightly more probable, but it could go any way. And I don't really care what way it goes. I'm just going to be trading whatever I see. But at this point right now, if I would just gun to my head, if I had to guess, I think we're going to see continuation of the bearish price action throughout the week, and the dollar currency index is going to regain some strength, because I don't think there's a lot that is telling us otherwise when looking at the macroeconomics of things. By the way, guys, if you're I know most of you are trading crypto, and if you're interested in the forex market as well, you can definitely check out PrimeXBT. If you're not on that exchange yet, you should definitely check them out. There's a link in the description. You can join and you can try it out. And there's also promo codes that you can use to get some bonus and some percentage of the fees. Yeah, obviously this is a big thing. I don't really care about this, honestly. I haven't really put a lot of time and effort into this. But I might have to. But it's like I'm whatever happens, price is going to move either way. Like, it's going to move up or it's going to move down, and I'm just looking for levels that would confirm or invalidate whatever setups we're watching. But in terms of crypto today, I think it's there's nothing. I don't think this is the time to. What the hell happened here? Yeah, I guess this would be one of those setups that would have worked out without having to care about Bitcoin, which is funny. but I would not have entered this anyway because of Bitcoin. Like you look at like it's definitely an anomaly here. You look at one algo, Aave, they're all looking this, you know, seeing the same type of price action. Then you got Wi-Fi, it's just showing the opposite. And most altcoins have obviously dumped here, right? There's a few that had bullish price action, but it's probably just one or two or something like that, right? Link is surprisingly nice bounce on Link here as well. But as I said, it's too uncertain to take a trade here, so I'm not going to be in trades on crypto today. Let's look at the forex market. So we had one idea that we talked about was Euro NCD, and yeah. So this right now is not really. I don't think this is not interesting anymore. This idea would be not invalidated. I mean, there's still some like something interesting going on here. But if you go and use the replay function, you would see that this looks much more interesting for a short, right? So what my whole idea here and my thinking was that we wanted to see a breakdown, hit that weekly open right there, and then come up and test that low time frame support and resistance area. And when you had that bounce on the weekly open, maybe if this candle closed a little bit lower as well, this would be the trade, and then it would be based on the fibs here as well. And it's a decent trade. I mean, it's not a great trade. It's only on average, it's only like 2.5 R. Well, yeah, it's actually only 2 R. It's, you know, any trades that are at 2 R or above 2 R on average, you see that the full trade here would be 3 R or 2.9, but that's not the actual risk to reward of the trade. The risk to reward is actually the average trade, where they have to calculate based on your take profit areas. And the good thing about having take profit areas based on these fibs, I know then exactly that with my take profit strategy, depending on if I take 50 at the last one or 25 on 4 take profits, my average R will be either between the minus 0.236 and the minus 0.382, or right on the minus 0.382. So I'd say around 2, which is not great, not great, but it works. Now that was the idea, right? Now you see on the next candle that area where you wanted to have an entry, you never really broke down. It never broke below, and it's kind of using that as support. And what it looks like now is a possible break in market structure. Now it looks like you have a very clear trend. And actually in the trading program, I've used Euro NCD a lot as a good example of market structures. You have a good uptrend, range, and it's actually still following that, right? So you have a downtrend, and what it looks like now is a possible range right here, and that could be a breakout, right? So you have to kind of take into consideration the current market structure, what's going on. And if you go back and look at this area right here, so you can use the replay function from that area, I would not long this, right? I would not long this, because you're coming up into high time frame resistance, and you're also having a change in behavior of the trend. So you have a range right here at the top of a trend at resistance. So it's likely that this could be a distribution range. Now it happens to be just it happens to break above that range and continue the uptrend. So this is when we want to start looking for longs. And then you see that price action is entering, you have a uptrend here, range, uptrend, and now it's starting to form a range as well again. And what happens here is this trend actually breaks down, and now you enter a new price structure that might be a range. But if you break down here, you might want to short this again. But honestly, guys, you gotta understand, like, when trading, and especially when trading, like when swing trading, it's important to understand that what we're doing is we're trying to follow, we're trying to find trends, and we're trying to follow the direction of the trends that we find. And all of these trends, especially when you're swing trading, they're based on the risk sentiment and the battle of, you know, buyers and sellers, the bears and the bulls, and the risk on versus the risk off sentiment. When inflation is high, when the market is still strong, and with the market I mean the job market and the economy in the US, when that is still strong and the Fed isn't really giving us any signs of that they're going to stop quantitative tightening anytime soon, that is a risk off scenario. And the overall macroeconomics is telling us that we're in a bear market, we are in a risk off environment. And then we're getting these small moves to the upside like we had this Friday and yesterday. Well, not yesterday, that move, but on Friday, right? And that is a local risk on move, and that could be a bear market rally, right? But it's basically, that's the whole idea, that we have to kind of figure out and like what's the actual risk sentiment right now. And the way I try to figure out what the risk sentiment is I try to look at the charts. I try to look at the charts, and I know which are risk assets and which are assets that perform well in a risk off environment. So you look at the dollar currency index, for example, that is a risk off asset, and that is performing bullishly when the market is bearish, right? And then you have Bitcoin, stock market, stuff like that is performing well in the risk on environment. And you have currencies like AUD, JPY, which usually performs quite bullishly in a risk on environment. And looking at the daily on AUD, JPY, this is actually a good example of the current state of the market. It's just been trading inside a massive range here since April. And I believe this is a good indication of what the market is actually doing. It's just all over the place. It's very hard to find the direction and actually find a decent trade here. And of course we can look at this. Looks interesting on the daily, by the way. Euro NCD. If it moves lower, like if it moves higher, we might want to go long on this actually. Yeah, so we're very close to either shorting this or going long. So let's go through the let's do it complete. I'm going to show you how I do my market scan, and how I start with a completely clean orange list, and I then go through the forex market here to start adding pairs. So I add pairs to the orange list based on if I basically is there a decent trend? Is there something here that I like, right? So AD/USD, not interesting. However, it would be interesting if it breaks above that level, and that's why I have an alert right above that level. We're putting an alert right here. AD/NCD, well, it's interesting because it's a trend. So we're adding that to the orange list. AD/JPY, not interested, but we are adding some alerts here at areas where we might be interested. AD/CHF, same thing here, adding alerts. AD/CAD, well, you know what? This is interesting. It's a trend. CAD/JPY, same thing here, adding alerts. And CAD/CHF, yeah, this is one that's interesting. CAD/CHF/JPY. I don't know. I'm going to be adding alerts on that one. And the idea here is to gather all the interesting pairs that I might be interested in trading in the next coming days or today or whatever in the near-term future in the orange list. And we would then go back to the orange list to see if we can find anything interesting. This one looks very interesting. So there's definitely something. I mean, there's something going on out there. There might be something interesting. I'm actually adding almost every euro pair to the orange list. I don't know about this one. Okay, we're adding some alerts. We got a GBP NCD. Look at that. It's a possible short signal coming up in 1 hour and 20 minutes. All of the short signals, by the way, will be alerted in the alert bot beta channel. So you can see that right here. These are the channels of the RLZ Trading Room, and all of the signals will be alerted into here. Now, I am working on a new version of the indicator. I'm actually working on a lot of things. It's crazy. I'm working on the indicator, setting up the new presentations for the program, and the RLC Slingshot playbook, which will be included in the trading program, and all my previous students as well gets a hold of that. It's basically a PDF with setup examples and some tips and tricks on my strategies. It's going to be a book on the RLC trading system, basically. But if this short signal gets activated in 1 hour and 20 minutes, it will get alerted into this channel. So keep your eyes on that channel. It's a good way of you can use it as a market scanner. Basically, it's a really good way of looking at which man, you know what I'm saying. GBP JPY, is this interesting? Maybe, but we're adding alerts on this one. I'm really trying my best to have the orange list as small as possible to kind of narrow down my focus. I think that's a great way. I just keeping it simple. I'm a big believer in keeping stuff simple, especially in trading, because the more advanced your concept is, the more advanced your system is. I mean, there comes a point where I've seen some people have the most advanced trading systems, almost to the point where they're not really sure why it works. Like, I remember I had an interview with a trader, and I asked him if he could describe his trading system in describe it as if I would be a 5-year-old, and try to describe it in like 3, 4, or 5 sentences, right? And he couldn't do that. And I realized that I'm not even sure that he knows his own system. And actually, if you, I think that's actually, I mean, if you can't describe your own trading system in 1 or 2 sentences, you don't need, like, it should be that simple. It should be really that simple to understand. I mean, if I had to describe my trading system, I would say that I buy the break and retest of the horizontal level in a trend. And that's basically it, right? Then you have multiple indicators that would just tell you if the probability of that bounce is high or not. So that's basically the break and retest of a horizontal level in a trending environment. And then I have multiple indicators that if they hit that area at the same time, it's a buy. Let's go back to the USD pairs. Do we have anything here? Silver looks interesting. Oil looks pretty interesting as well. Oil should not be moving this bullish, I believe. I don't know why. Right, so down to the indices here. We got US 30 looks interesting. US 100 looks interesting. UK 100 also very interesting. The S&P 500, not really interested in that one right now. I believe this is Nike, right? Yeoman 40. Or so the stock indices looks very, very bullish. There's so many mixed signals here. So now we see that we have added a lot of pairs to the orange list, and I do the same thing with the green list, by the way. So this is the altcoins, but on altcoins, like on the Forex list, I have 41 pairs, right? And then I have one with 80 as well, but that's like all the exotics and everything. But on the Forex main pair, I have 41 pairs that I go through. And then on the altcoin list, I have 190 pairs. So Forex, I have 41 pairs that I monitor, and in the altcoin market, I have 190. Now I'm trying, and I'm going to transition more into focusing only on the altcoins on PrimeXBT, because they have 40 altcoins on PrimeXBT, and I think that's a great number focus on. So I'm kind of narrowing down my focus because I'm basically only trading on PrimeXBT, right? But I also want to be able to provide you guys, which might be trading on different exchanges, and I also have accounts on FTX and Binance, right? So if I see like a really good setup on an altcoin that is not on PrimeXBT, well, I guess I have to trade on another exchange, right? So I also want to be able to provide you guys with good trades as well. So I do that on a weekly basis. I go through 190 pairs and I add all the interesting ones to the green list, and I then categorize that up in the same way that I'm going to do with the orange list, right? So you have list number 1, list number 2, and then the new list right here. And everything that's new gets added into the new one. So now we're going to be categorizing these up into 1s and 2s, depending on how much I like them. So this is a 2 because there's no obvious setup right now, but there might be an obvious setup on this one in the near-term future. AD CAD is also a 2. CAD CHF. I have to put this as a 1 because the trend is very clear. The trend is just very, very clear. If we get a break and retest of the I don't know exactly what I want to see, but the trend is very clear and this looks good. So that's going to be a 1. Euro USD is going to be a 2. Euro NCD is going to be a 2 for the reasons I talked about earlier. Euro JPY. This is a 2 because it's not clear. Like, you gotta understand, like, when I'm watching the markets and I try to figure out if there's a setup or not, so I've been doing this. I've been trading for, I think, over 5 years now. And yes, I've been trading over 5 years now, and all the stuff that I've learned throughout the years, obviously, I mean, when it comes to intuition and gut feeling, that's experience. Your intuition is based on your experience. Now, you might not actively think about all the things that your intuition is telling you about, but if your intuition is telling you that this is a good trade, with the experience that you have, or the experience that I have, you kind of have to trust that feeling, right? Because you might not be sure at that very moment which part of your brain is picking up the memory and the information telling you that that's a good trade. But if the intuition is telling you, just, this looks good, this is a good trade, we're going to be taking that trade. Now, trading based on intuition is the last stage of trading. Now, if you read the book Trading in the Zone, you know what I'm talking about. If you have not read the book Trading in the Zone, you should do so right away. It's mandatory for every trader, I believe. So your goal should always be to be able to trade from the intuition state of mind, and that last stage of trading, which is the intuitive part of trading. And I'm trying every day to work on that type of trading and work on that mindset and teach my brain to think fast, right? And when I'm able to think fast, I believe that most of that thinking happens almost not unconsciously, but by using that intuition part of the brain. So when scanning through the markets, I'll do it very quickly, and as soon as my brain picks up something visually that I like, I'm gonna go back to that one. So for example, if I'm scanning the altcoin market, let me show you. When I'm scanning the altcoin market, this is the pairs I'm scanning. I usually go through them quite quickly. Now, it takes a while for this indicator to load sometimes, but the idea is just to go through it quite quickly. And you have, I believe you can add, so you can press Alt Enter, right? So if you press Alt Enter, it gets added to the last watch list you added it on. So let's say, for example, let's actually, you know what? Let's do this. Let's remove everything, and we'll actually add all of this. We'll see how quickly it goes. So basically, what I'm doing is I'm pressing the space bar like this, and whenever I see something I like, I press Alt Enter, right? Alt Enter. I'm gonna check that one is green. What happens if I Alt Enter? Yeah, okay, that's good. So it needs to happen quickly. Like, I'm not looking at the charts and just doing, putting on levels and putting on drawings and trend lines. I'm just looking at the trend, and that's the only thing that interests me. I don't care about all the magical indicators. I only care about the trend. Now, the indicator here is giving me some information that I need to know. Stuff like what's the daily moving average looking like and stuff like that. But I could also remove all of this and just be adding pairs to the green list based on their price action. But I want to know what the daily EMAs are. I just have all of this on. So let's see how quickly we can go through this one, if there's anything of interest here. That's gonna be interesting. Why can I do alt enter? Alt enter. Oh, alt enter, right. Let's see what we get here. Remember, it's 180 pairs. It's going to take a while to do all of this, but with time, you learn to do it quite quickly. And that's an invalid signal, so it's going to remove that one. All right, so I'm going to try to do this as quickly as possible. You don't need a lot of time to do your market scanning. If you know what you're looking for, it doesn't have to take forever, right? Now, it might not be the most fun thing to watch live, but I believe this should be your goal when scanning the markets. You should really try to teach your brain to be able to see the setups very, very quickly and see what type of price action you want to see. And if you've been staring at the charts for hours every day, you know this, right? You know this. I mean, if you've been trading for, or at least trying to become a trader for a year or two or something like that, chances are that you know this. You know price action. You know what trade trends look like. So you got to trust yourself and trust your intuition and whatever you've learned throughout the years. You really have to kind of trust that gut feeling more, I believe, because there's experience in there. You can learn quite a lot by listening. A lot of people say you should never trade based on your emotion, which is partly true, but when you've been trading for many years and you try to trade from that intuitive state of trading, you're basically trading on your emotions. Like, what type of emotions am I getting watching these charts and stuff like that, right? You should be able to identify which are good emotions, which are bad emotions, which emotions could you like when in a trade, for example. If I feel very, very positive about a position, if I feel like I'm making a shit ton of money and everything is just perfect, it's probably time to take profit. It's probably time to do something about it. And if I'm in a losing trade and I feel like the trade is just looking like shit, and I get a feeling that maybe I'm just gonna stay in a little bit longer. Maybe this time it's different. Maybe I'm just gonna stay in a little bit longer. Get a little bit anxious, and you're like, let's wait. Maybe that's just a good reason to actually exit the trade, because if the idea is invalidated, the idea is invalidated. You're never gonna be able to just ignore your own emotions. It's better to embrace your emotions and trade somewhat based on your emotions and learn which ones are telling you what. FOMO, a feeling of FOMO is great, because you shouldn't be trading that, right? So if you feel FOMO, if you feel FOMO and you don't trade that trade, you're basically trading based on your feeling of FOMO, but the trade is not the trade, if that makes sense. You're feeling FOMO, and by feeling FOMO, you tell yourself that you should not be trading, right? So that's 190 pairs. the green list. Now what we want to do is we want to categorize this up into ones and twos. So that's actually 1. AR is a 2. Band is a 1. No, that's a 2. Why is this a 2? Well, look at this. This is a massive range, and then it's an explosive move. We're not interested in trading those moves. We want to see price action, but it's interesting. This move kind of caught my attention. It's interesting that we had that move. Bar is a 2. I do think that most of the altcoins right now will be 2s. We're probably not going to have a lot of 1s. Well, you know what? This trend is very clear. I like this trend, so that's going to be 1. 2. Actually, this looks really bad. Well, no, I like it. So you can see like all the ones that I have on here, the green list, they have clear trends. And the ones that don't have clear trends, it's a mistake to be adding them. I'm going to remove them. But you see that from all of the 190 pairs, I've managed to find most of the pairs that are in a trend, right? Which should be clear by watching this. This is the 2. I don't know about this one. Let's move that one. Dodge. Well, interesting. Now look at this. We had someone in the community, I believe, Odin's son, which is a great name, by the way. I remember him. Been following me for a long time. I think he's also been in the Burbness when I was there. So we looked at a short on Dodge, and yeah, I mean, obviously worked out quite well. Didn't take this trade, and I also believe I recommended you not to take the trade, which is, I'm sorry about that, but it is what it is. That's a 2. ICP, that is a 2. So good thing about this is now I don't have to do this again. It's quite time consuming to go through this list and to organize everything. So I've done this in this live stream, so I don't have to do it. Oh, it's quite a lot of pairs here. Quite a lot of pairs. All right, so I'm not going to be organizing all this on live. It's just stupid. It takes a while. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to because we know that we're not very interested in trading altcoins today anyway, because of Bitcoin, right? Because of how Bitcoin looks. If we can't long Bitcoin, we don't want to long an altcoin. If we can't short Bitcoin, we don't want to short the Bitcoin. Short an altcoin. So let's look at the orange list. All right, so let's continue the categorizing of this, and when we're done, we're going to be focusing on the first list, list number 1. That's the one that we're most interested in, and that's where we're going to be finding the daily setups, the setups that we might want to take today. NCD CAD, I like that one. Silver, that's a 1. Oil, that is going to be 1. US30, that's going to be a 2. US 100 is a 1. So it looks like there's some the risk sentiment is turning positive this morning, it seems like, judging by the moves that we're currently seeing. All the stock indices are actually performing quite bullishly right now. So yeah, we now have the number 1 list and the number 2 list. So let's go through the number 1 list. Now CAD CHF, what we want to see in CAD CHF is we need to be bouncing like right now, and what we want to see is a move like this, right? So that something like this, I don't know, something like this, that might be the trade we're looking at. Something like this. The average of this trade is going to be around 3, which is great. So that's going to be CAD CHF. Euro GBP, very similar trade on Euro GBP. What's the trend here? Which move should we be putting a fib on? This is a tricky one. And there might not be a trade here just because of the fact that it's, well, if we take that whole move, it's actually hitting the 50. Like, I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, there's definitely something going on here, but I don't know. Let's move that down. It's still going to be on the first list, but we're going to move it slightly lower. GBP NCD, I don't have to, like, I think this looks really, really good. So we're probably going to have a short signal on this one in 1 hour, and that's going to be a trade. So that trade is going to be like, best case scenario is this 4-hour candle closes down here. Down around this level should be perfect. And if that 4-hour candle closes down at that level, we're going to put short orders on the retest of the 50. Make sure that the average R of this trade is not too low. 2.5. Yeah, that's good. So very, very wide stop loss. We're able to have a very wide stop loss and almost have a 3R trade. So that's perfect. GBP NCD looks really good. We got NCD JPY. NCD JPY is very interesting, but the moving averages here on the 4 hours is too high. But there's definitely something interesting going on right here. And the idea would obviously be a move down to the reload zone right here. What's up, Liquid? Bezels, probably Bezels. I don't know. What's up, man? I like to exit a bad trade fast, but sometimes that keeps going up. Yeah, you know, it's so first of all, like the main priority for everyone probably watching this, because I do believe that most of you are maybe not new traders, but you're probably not professional traders. So I would argue that you follow the plan, right? So what I'm talking about, you know, following your intuition, your gut feeling, and basing trades based on what's good emotions and bad emotions, you need to learn that first, right? And you need to, so what you do first, you have a plan, right? You make a plan. So let's take NCD JPY here, for example. So let's make a plan, right? So what's the plan? The plan. We're gonna make it really big. So what's the plan here? The plan is to, right, so we wait for the 0.5 or reload zone to get hit. Stochastics RSI below 30. Bullish engulfing candle that reclaims the 4-hour 20 EMA. So that's the entry part of the plan. Now let's look at the exit part. So this is the exit part. So this is how a trading plan, you know, a trading plan for the specific trade should look. Exit 25% at TP1, TB1, which is the 0% fib, and I'm not gonna write other TPs because it's the fibs, right? And move stops to entry. Move stops up with every new 4-hour swing low. That's the plan, right? Now what you should do, you have a plan like this, and what you're going to do now is you're going to follow this plan regardless of whatever happens. If you have price coming down to hit the 50% fib or the reload zone, and there's stochastics goes down here, and there's a bullish engulfing candle. Now imagine if the 4-hour moving average goes down like this, right? And there's a 4-hour bullish engulfing candle that reclaims the 4-hour 20 EMA. It would also be good to have a reclaim of the 0.5% fib. If you have that, you enter, right? You have to calculate risk, whatever stop loss is going to be below the reload zone, or wherever you want to have it. It kind of makes sense. Have a wide stop loss. Make sure that the trade is at least 2R. That's the plan. And then you can, when TP1 is hit, which is going to be the 0% fib, you're moving stops to entry. That's the plan. And then when price moves higher, maybe it takes out TP3, and you have price action that looks like this, you move stops here, and last TP gets hit. It would be the best case scenario. Best case scenario almost never happens, but when it happens, it's great. That's the plan. Now, when taking this trade, there's going to be a lot of emotions here. There's going to be a lot of emotions here, and there's definitely going to be a lot of emotions here, because you're going to ask yourself, should I exit fully? Should I move my stops to entry? Ignore all of that. Follow the plan. Then, after the trade, when the trade is closed, either at entry or you get stopped out, whatever, when the trade is closed, you write the conclusion, right? And here you add the stuff that you have learned from this trade. What have you learned on this trade? And if you have let's say you've gone through the trading program, the 2-month trading program, you've learned the technicals of the RLZ slingshot system, and you decided to trade that system or a variation of that system, so you know the technicals. Let's say you have that in place and you've developed that. So what you write here in the conclusion part, in the what you've learned from the trade, that's going to be based more on emotions, right? It's going to be based more on emotions. It's going to be based more on what you felt during the trade. And these types of entries into your diary or trading journal, that's the type of things that will fuel your the intuition part of your trading career, because you're going to know that the next trade you're taking, right, when you start feeling the same emotions at the very same area that you felt on this trade, and you're going to be able to see that because you can read the conclusion of this trade before you take the next trade. So you know that, all right, TP1 gets hit and I feel a strong urge to exit fully. And you read the conclusion here, which says, I'm glad I did not follow the idea of exiting fully at TP1, because then this would be a much lower risk to reward trade. So in the next trade, remember, that's a lesson from the last trade. I'm going to keep this trade open, right? And that's basically trading. That's basically how you learn to trade, right? It's trial and error. But the complicated part, obviously, is to actually learn technical analysis and get a system working. That's the complicated part in the beginning, and then when you have that figured out, the trading psychology part and the learning how to trade intuitively, that's never going to be perfect. Your execution and your technical system, that will at one point become as close to perfect as possible, but trading psychology, you're never going to get done with that. It's never going to be it's never going to be easy. It's never going to be perfect, because we're human beings, and some days we are just terrible at everything. It's like you wake up and you're like, it's nice, I suck today. It's gonna be I'm just not gonna trade. Good idea, And sometimes you're gonna wake up and you're gonna be like, on the best goddamn trade in the world, you start trading and you quickly realize that you're not. Trading psychology is really hard, and that's why I always say, trading is hard. I mean, TA is easy, trading is hard, because yes, it's very complicated to learn TA, but when you've learned it, you don't have to learn it again. Trading psychology and the trading part about it all, you have to learn that every day. You have to wake up and you have to remind yourself of not fucking up. That's like major part of trading. All right, NCDJ provide, that's what we're looking at. NCD CAD, we got this weird trend line area going on here, which I kind of like. We have this low time frame move. This might be a good example of possibly a trade based on the 1 hour system, which would be this. That's the 1 hour moving average. I don't know. Maybe, but I don't know. I'm just gonna keep this on the list. Probably not gonna be a trade here, but definitely looks strong. I think this is gonna move higher. I'm just not sure how high. Silver, very interesting price action on silver. It's a shame that the moving average on the 4 hours is just this high. I would love to have seen silver start retracing here directly, because then you'd have the chance to actually hit this area, and you would have the moving averages in a better position. But we're still gonna be like, we're still watching silver here. I do like silver. It's it hit a resistance area here, and we have support area lower around this area right here, and basically we're trying to play ping pong between these levels, level to level, right? So a retrace down here and a move back up here. So a bounce around the reload zone of this level and a move up to the weekly open, which is up here, and then perhaps a breakout. And so yeah, that's something to be watching on silver. Now, because of the fact that the 4-hour moving average is quite high, I'm going to be moving that lower down into the list. Oil should be quite obvious what we're looking at on oil here. By the way, guys, I'm going live on YouTube later today as well. For those of you who are sleeping right now, if you're watching this right now and you're sleeping, you could join later. You're probably not watching this if you're sleeping though. But if you're sleeping now and you're watching the replay, yeah. So oil. Now the problem I'm having with oil is that I mean, imagine if the 4-hour moving average was here. That's the blue line, that's the gray line, and these tops right here. You kind of take this whole area and you move it down here. That would be perfect. It's perfect. Now oil still interesting, but not too interesting. So I'm just moving that down a little bit in the list. US 100, very interesting. Should be quite obvious why this is interesting, because you're at a major resistance area compared to the 4-hour moving average and the stochastics. You want to see a rejection here, and we're probably going to get a short signal on this one today as well. So that's going to keep that on. UK 100. Now here's the problem, right? US 100 probably short, but all the other indices is very longable. Longable? Yeah, I like that word. It's longable. Longable. Okay, UK 100 is probably not going to be a trade, but I'm going to keep my eyes on that one as well. We got the Japanese index. Japan. So a reclaim of the, not a reclaim, but a retest of the 50% fib, comfortable with the monthly open and weekly open. Perfect. I love it. Looks really good. Looks really, really good for long, which, you know, makes me feel weird because we're looking for shorts. Like, I don't know, the market is just bipolar. I'm probably bipolar as well, but the market is way more bipolar than I am. All right, so that's in the German 40. That's the last one. Yeah, I mean, quite clear what we're looking for right here. A move lower. I don't think this is gonna, like, might not be the perfect confluence area here with the indicators being all over the place, but that's something, definitely something to be watching. So to sum it up, we have the most interesting ones, which CAD CHF is kind of breaking down, so maybe not that interesting. So move it down here, but the most interesting ones right now that I'm watching is CAD CHF for long, GBP NCD for short, NCD JPY for possible long later today or tomorrow, NCD CAD for something, and then US 100 for short, and the Japanese stock index for a long at around the 50. So there's some, and of course then the German 40. So there's some, actually because of this, I'm gonna move these down to the second list just to focus on these ones on the first list. So there's definitely some price action is very indecisive today. There's moves that are telling me that we're in a risk on environment or we are in a risk off environment. We're basically getting mixed signals, and when you're getting mixed signals like that, it usually means that it's going to be a quite tough trading day and a trading week, perhaps. Let's that's a 1 hour chart. Let's remove that one. Let's take a look at the Bitcoin to kind of end this on the higher time frames. So looking at the daily right here, we had that I kind of looked at a possible double bottom. It's still in play. Could have a W here, double bottom, a major high time frame reversal. I think the probability of that is very, very low. I don't think we're going to get that, but if we do get that, that would be massively bullish. Let's see what the well, you get midterm elections. You have stuff going on all around the world. Let's see what happens. And in terms of altcoins, there's a few ones I'm liking, but not much. So I'm going to be updating you guys on everything here in the market updates channel. That's this one right here, the market updates channel in the Discord server. That's one. That's the channel where I share all my analysis and all my thoughts on the market and tips and tricks and everything like that. So definitely check that out. All right, guys, that's it for today's webinar. I would like to thank you all for joining today, and I'm going to be updating you guys, like I said, throughout the day in the channels in the Discord. And if you're watching this on YouTube and you're not member of the RLZ Trading Room, you can go in the description of this video and there's a link. Go click that link, read about it, and if you're interested, you can join and you will be led into the Discord server probably later today. All right, guys. Thank you, everyone, and I will see you guys a bit later today.